What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Founder Academy. I am Mark, the FUT founder. I want to start by thanking everybody for all your patience and staying with the channel. You know, all your support throughout the year has been amazing, but for those of you that stuck with me during that kind of little mini hiatus I had to take there just after Christmas, greatly appreciate you guys sticking around. You know, the channel is doing well and it's starting to grow, and I had a bit of momentum, and then we ended up going on vacation. And had to take a little bit of a break because I had, you know, my lovely girlfriend there visiting, but you guys have stuck with it and the numbers haven't dropped too much, so I appreciate you guys staying on the channel and staying here and checking everything out. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel down below. Every little subscription helps. Also like and comment down below. I love hearing from you guys, and all the likes are greatly appreciated because they go a very long way. Also, Bendable Mr. Bean, thanks you too. This is a gift that I just got in the mail, literally from my sister. I don't know why I find this so funny. Yeah, my sister and I just have like this weird sense of humor where we'll like send stuff, like these novelty gifts to each other, and that's actually from like a Christmas gift that, because I wasn't able to see them over Christmas, that she sent me. I just got in the mail today. I don't know why Mr. Bean Rowan Atkinson just kills me, but he does, so I'm a big kid. But anyway, what you guys are seeing here, the first clip there was all the stuff that we sold. So we packed Team of the Year Robert Lewandowski. The biggest, was he the biggest pull I've ever had? It's the first Team of the Year I've ever packed, with the exception of the ones where they just jam into packs at the end of the year where everything's in packs. It's the first time I've ever packed a Team of the Year ever in any FIFA. So that was really exciting. I got him during the attackers, so there was only the 3 of them in packs, and I was just like totally dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. He was tradable, so obviously we sold him right away. I think he went for like 1.7 or 1, might even have been 1.9, but we ended up getting quite a bit of coins for him. And then when I got that huge influx, I was like, you know what? I'm really, really close to, as you guys can see in the title, Team of the Year Messi. So we ended up selling a couple other things. We sold Puskas. That broke my heart because Puskas was so good. I plan on getting him back at some point. I just don't know which version. Right now I'm trying to figure out a way that I can afford him in the future. You guys will see where the team gets to, because we're plowing through all of these promos. All of this is going to get thrown into, this is pretty much the Team of the Year stuff. I thought I could get all the promos into it, but this is literally all the packs and SBCs that we did during Team of the Year. But yeah, like you'll see where the team is at in the future and what we have got and where we're heading, and kind of the direction of the team will all start to make sense. But this is a huge chunk of it. The Team of the Year was like basically the biggest influx of coins that we had. A lot of that had to do with Robert Lewandowski, selling that Puskas. We sold Seedorf. That broke my heart. Seedorf I liked fundamentally. He's one of my favorite players in real life of all time. I love Clarence Seedorf. However, he just doesn't necessarily fit my formation and the way I play. Like, he's a good player. He intercepts, he breaks up play, he transitions the ball well, but really I need a strong backline, and then I need 2 more defensive midfielders that can just basically take the ball and transition it up to the attacking midfielders, because I play the 4-2-3-1, and then those 3 midfielders do most of the legwork. He's more of a box-to-box guy. He just doesn't really fit the bill there. He's not really a pure defensive player, and he's not dynamic enough offensively. He's not like agile or anything like that. He's more of just like a box-to-box like bull, I guess. Like, he's just that guy in that midfield that just kind of disrupts play. But defensively, his stats aren't good enough to play CDM as a pure CDM, and he was a little bit of a liability when I was using him in the really high-end champs games. So unfortunately, we had to sell him, but he was a huge influx of coins there that came in, and it gave us a ton that we were going to use to get Team of the Year Messi. What you guys are seeing here is also a lot of the SBCs that we did. They released so many SBCs. We have so many attackers. We have Icardi, we have Torres, we have Pato, and we have Aubameyang, and none of them are my attackers, really. Like, we use Torres probably the most. Torres is a good player. He doesn't create his own shot. He can finish. He's got a really hard shot. He's a big body. Once he gets into space, if you send the ball in behind, he's like a big bull that just plows through on goal, and he's got a really hard, accurate shot. However, he doesn't have that kind of wiggle room that wiggle ability, I guess, to like wiggle through space the way like a Puskas or a Messi would. So it just kind of hurts him in that fashion because he can't create his own shot when he's left on an island with really good defenders. Icardi's kind of the same way. Icardi felt a little bit more agile, even though his agility is lower. He just doesn't have that same kind of presence. He's a good finisher, but he plays like a big forward, but he's just not a big forward, if that makes any sense. Aubameyang is just too weak. He's not as agile as you expect him to be. It was a really expensive SBC. It's just I had so much fodder, and there was a lot of times where I was stuck with untradeable duplicates, so I basically had to put them into some packs, and we ended up putting him into the Aubameyang SBCs, and eventually I was only one team away, so I just did that final team and got him into the club. And then the Pato is just too hard to link. We really have to surround him with Brazilians and icons, and I don't want to have that headache. So those are the 4 strikers. We have another one coming in the future that will really be hopefully our end game guy. But these are the 4 that we were kind of playing with during a lot of these games you guys will see in the near future. Serginho Dest was another one that we added. He is still in my squad today. He's not in the starting squad. I have him coming off the bench, but the reason I have him in there is because I do bronze bench my team, which we can get into in the future, but I essentially just have 3 subs at any time on my squad, and the reason for that is you can only have 3 substitutions in a game, so I only keep those 3 and then I bronze bench the other 4. So he's one that counts for the midfield and defense. He obviously is not going to play center back, but let's say I get a yellow on one of my wing backs, he can go in there. And then I also use him as a holding mid if I want to swap out one of the holding mids because he's so quick. He is a very, very, very good card. So if you didn't do him, you missed the boat because he is an awesome, awesome card. There's the main man right there. Leonel Messi, we ended up picking up for 3.4. He's about 2.8 right now, so we lost some coins. But look, he's not going anywhere in the squad. I plan on keeping him until the end of the game unless there's a better version or there's a player of the month or something that might tempt me if he's a central card. But the reality is that card right now is it's endgame. And to me, he's the best player that I've used all year. You guys will see it in the gameplay. He's just phenomenal. We picked up Hakimi too. We still had a little bit of coinage there, so we picked up Hakimi to throw into the squad. We still were packing a couple extra, like we packed a couple other guys during that team of the year pack run, like that Koundé. They had an influx of coins, and I found myself in and around that 800 coin mark, so we ended up picking this guy, João Cancelo. This is Kyle Walker. We got a duplicate of Kyle Walker. We got duplicates of him. I think I got 3 Mendy's. And we pack another one that I won't spoil. He's towards the end of the video. Kyle Walker is a funny one this year. This version of him I haven't used too much. I used the gold version in my first FUT Champs run. The gold version was very good. I love Kyle Walker in FIFA. I like when he's a central card too, when he plays center back. He's very, very rapid. He's a good wing back, but for some reason this year, it just feels like he doesn't really fit the bill. Maybe that's some like pros and stuff getting in my head because I've heard that narrative a couple times, so I apologize. That might be me just regurgitating. But I haven't found him to be overly, I haven't found him to be that bossy, I guess, in the back. He just doesn't really... I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say here. He just there's something missing about that card. He just doesn't feel like he has that same kind of dynamic ability that he's had in past FIFAs, where you can throw like just the gold version back there and he just plays really awesome. This version's jacked up. I expected the world of him, and he was okay. He can hold his own. If you have to have him in a club, he's fine. But I didn't find him to be that good. I can't think of a better word, so I apologize, guys. I'm not articulating that well today. I don't have the vernacular, I guess, to really say what I want to say. It's been a long day. Maybe I'm just feeling dumb. Who knows? So we'll jump into some gameplay here. You'll see a lot of division rivals, and I actually ended up doing half of a FUT Champs qualification run. I thought I did all of it, and then I realized that I hadn't done all of it. So, I didn't realize they don't carry over from week to week. That was the issue that I had. So I think I played about 3 or 4 games, and I was on my way. I think I had a pretty good record through 3 or 4 games. And then I was just like, oh, I'll finish it next week because I'm not going to play Champs this weekend. I didn't realize it resets. So that was my mistake. Lesson learned there. But, you know, that is what it is. So we go into the game here. We are using that Kaka. We also, sorry, I should probably rewind a little bit. We also picked up 2 other players. One is that Prime Kaka, which you guys saw there. And the other was Rafa Varane. So Varane obviously is going to go into the team. He's the best center back in the game overall. People are very polarized on this, like, is it a flashback version? I got corrected on Twitter today by somebody saying, you're getting flashbacks and moments confused. Which is one of my biggest pet peeves, when people just they have nothing better to do than just sit there and be an internet heiress and just like correct you on every single thing. If you're just like, oh, that was a really nice red car I saw. It's actually maroon. That drives me mental, but like there's a bunch of idiots on the internet. So like you get what you pay for, I guess. It's free, so it gives a voice to people that don't deserve it. But anyway, the Varane SBC is like a card that some people just love. Some people hate, but he's in every single team. So for me, he was always going to be in the team. He was a fantastic card. He's worth every penny if you did him, like, which most of you probably have. He was expensive, but he wasn't too expensive. He was under $1 million. I think by the end of it, you could have probably done him for about 600K. And that's if you had nothing in the club. You probably had enough that you would be able to get that for about, I don't know, 500K, somewhere in there would be my guess. Most people ended up paying, but he is worth every single penny. I would have paid $1 million for him just because he's an end game center back. Even if there's better center backs that come out, which there have been, he is probably going to play better. He's got all the attributes that you need for a center back. The Kaka was another one that I just had like duplicates of things, and we were getting close. I always do the silver and the gold ones because I get a ton of those rare. Sorry, not silver and gold. Silver and bronze SBCs for icons. I always get a ton of them. I never use them for anything. Obviously, they have that silver promotion that just finished, but I wasn't going to ever do that. I wasn't going to really build teams. The only time I would ever use silvers would be for maybe like icon swaps. And I had a ton of them in my club. I didn't have anything to use them for, so I decided to start putting them into the icon, like that silver and the bronze, which are the first 2 sets for pretty much every icon that they release. I always do it. It just gives you like a 2 gold player pack, but those sometimes pay out. So yeah, I just have a habit of doing them to get rid of a lot of that like untradeable fodder that sits in my club from the silver and bronze side. And I did that, and then I was stuck with a couple more players. We'd already done the Aubameyang one, so I didn't have anything else to put him in. Next thing you know, I was pretty much halfway done the Kaka SBC. And I realized that I needed a player to fit, like in a 4-5-1, it's one of the only formations where you can take a central player and isolate him with 2 players. So if that means anything to you guys. So I had Kaka on one side, and I can't remember who the other player was that was... There was isolating Zakaria, I want to say. And I can't remember who the other guy was. But anyway, you get 2 icons in there. Oh, Torres. So you get Torres and Kaka, and it allows me to put Zakaria in the squad because I needed a second central defensive midfielder now that Seedorf was gone. So that essentially is what the team would look like. The back line is phenomenal. We were using Davinson Sanchez as a placeholder for a little while, the inform version. He was not that good, but like, look guys, he was, I think, less than 20K when I got him. I think we ended up packing him. He was just in the squad. I couldn't afford to get like Ruben Diaz or anybody at that time, so just decided to keep him in there and use him for this run, just get some games in because I really wanted to use Messi. But Davinson Sanchez is not gonna be an endgame player. He's probably not even going to be in your squad very long. He's usable, but he's not great by any means. So he was what he was. Rafa Varane, we mentioned, phenomenal. Mendy, funny enough, I really like that Mendy, the keeper. Is it Edouard Mendy, the keeper? Yeah, that honorable mention one. We ended up packing him like 3 times. I was getting really annoyed, but we tried using him in the squad. He's in all of these games, I think. And to be honest with you, when I was going back and editing this footage, I was like, maybe I will consider using him again because we do have some strong links into him. which is kind of giving away some of the pack pulls. But, I've got the ability to get him into the squad even at this stage, like today as I record this. And when I'm looking back at some of the saves he was making, I was like, man, this guy's actually a really, really good keeper, better than I gave him credit for. I felt like my keepers, like I try to keep in essentially every chance I get. There's the odd one that goes flying wide or does whatever, but almost anything that brings out a save from the keeper or goes in from a goal standpoint, I try to keep in. You guys probably don't see my keepers make too many saves. Obviously, they do make saves. I'm probably not even giving them a whole lot of credit, but like, I think more shots went in than the players saved for Ederson. But with this Mendy, when I was going back and watching this, some of these games, he was making some pretty heroic saves. He comes out and makes himself big, and that's all I need him to do. I don't need him to necessarily make like kick saves or fingertip saves every time. I just want, if you're like one-on-one with a keeper kind of in the box and he's got really good position, I want shots that go at him to be saved. That's all I expect from keepers, which is really, really low expectations. I don't need him picking out every single thing out of corners like it feels like every keeper does to me, but just make the basic saves. That's all I want. And I think Edouard Mendy really did that. I think he was a really good keeper. I just, for some reason, put it in my head that I was like, oh, he's not going to be my... he's not going to be my keeper once I get a better one. But for whatever reason, I just didn't give him the time of day. And now that I'm looking back on it, I might consider doing it. João Cancelo, phenomenal. A little bit of foreshadowing here, but we did end up selling him eventually. We don't sell him quite yet. There's going to be a couple. He's going to be in a couple episodes. I don't want to say I regret selling him because, like, look, the players that we ended up getting for him are well worth it. However, he is a very, very good card. For 800k, most people look at it and just go, he's a wingback. But he is the most dynamic wingback I've ever used. Like, he can attack, he can pass. You can literally, I've seen people use him in the midfield. He's just so good overall. Like, that card is so well-rounded. I can see why people use him just about anywhere. You could use him on the wing up top in a 4-2-3-1. You could use him in a central position. I wouldn't use him as like a cam or a striker, even though he's got those abilities. Look at those stats. Like 85 shooting is fine for like, a holding midfielder, a box-to-box mid. Like I said, he's probably not a cam. He doesn't really have that kind of agility from a dribbling standpoint. But you'll see him like maraud forward through some of these games and give himself an attacking presence as a wing-back. Right, so he was really, really good. He was well worth it. In terms of Hakimi out on the right, super, super quick. He's 99.99, which I've always wondered. I've seen guys that have 99.99 and still put like hunters and catalysts and shadows on these guys, and I always think like, why? I don't know enough about the way the game's coded in terms of like stats and what you see and how they affect the players. I'm only going off of what I see on like FUTBin and in-game when you actually apply chemistry styles. But I am sometimes convinced that 99.99s don't necessarily have 99.99. I feel like when you have a guy who's like 95, it might be the body type, it might be a whole bunch of other factors, but when they got 95 and you put like a hawk or a catalyst or a hunter or something, I feel like they're much more rapid. Again, I have no factual evidence to support that. That's just my feeling. But maybe it's just because you assume that guys that are 99.99 should be flying around the field all the time. He does feel quick, don't get me wrong. Hakimi does not feel slow by any means, but I don't know if he feels like 99.99. Like, those are really, really high stats. But regardless, I mean, he is what he is. He is super rapid. I do like having him back there. He's a very, very good defender. He's the best right back we've used all year, so like, don't get it twisted. He is a team of the year. He plays like a team of the year, and he can attack too. He's not going to offer a ton from a shooting standpoint, but he'll pop in the odd goal here and there. And he is, he's a better attacking player than I first gave him credit for. I thought he was just going to be a monster defensively, but he is that, plus offers a little bit going forward. So that's all you can ask from wingbacks. I would like to get João Cancelo back eventually, unless they release a couple other good wingbacks that are team of the year. The only issue that I had, or sorry, team of the season, the only issue that I did have with João Cancelo that I will say is he is right-footed. And because he's a left back playing right-footed, they still play on their dominant foot. Now, he's got a 5-star weak foot, so people just go, oh, whatever, he'll play with his left. But there was a couple times where you'd get the ball out onto the right, and you want that ball to go, like, let's say here's a defender, you want it to go around the defender and play like Sterling or whoever you have in behind, and he would play it with the right, so it would go inside, and the defender would pick it off. So it caused me some frustrations a few times. I didn't find that he used his left almost ever. I think 5-star really only pertains personally to having strikers that can use it, just because it allows for the ability, if a ball's on their left foot or right foot, depending on their strong foot, to shoot accurately with it. I don't think passing really necessarily is a huge thing. I remember, I think it was Foot birthday last year, they had like an Eric Bailly, and I think he was 5-star weak foot, and I don't remember him ever using a left foot. I tried to force a bunch of passes onto his left, and he just didn't use it. So it's kind of an irrelevant stat. I don't think it's really necessarily that important for a defender. I'm more concerned now with getting a left-footed left back so he can play those balls in, and he'll continue to play him. I would take a left-footed player with 2 or 3-star weak foot as a left back over a right-footed player with 5-star weak foot, because they're going to make those right-footed passes and they're going to cause you issues. And believe me, it's always at the times you don't want it, right? So they are what they are. From a CDM standpoint, Kante's still in the team. If we get a better Conte, I will, trust me, I will use it. There's that Ben Rama again. I don't know why people continue to use that Ben Rama. He was actually a decent card. I'll take that back. And he is cheap. It's just he's in more teams than I expected him to be in. So no hate on him. It's just, I guess I answered my own question. He's just a cheap option that's a high-rated card. When you look at the rest of that guy's team, it's not like he had a whole bunch of really, really high-rated players. But anyway, that Conte, I think that was, again, a flashback Conte. But again, I get my moments and my flashbacks mixed up, so maybe people are going to get mad at me for that. But I think it's a flashback Conte. Still awesome. Like, I don't know if I can take Conte out of the team unless I ended up, like, for whatever reason, packing like a Vieira. Like my boy Nima did. He packed himself a mid-Vieira in that mid-icon player pick, which I give him all the credit in the world. I was trying to convince him to do it. He was kind of humming and hawing, and he's just like, okay, I'll try it. Packed a mid-Vieira, so I'm so happy for him. But yeah, we didn't get the chance to get anybody great in ours. You guys will see in the future episodes what we end up packing in ours. But if I do, for whatever reason, get a guy like him or a Hullet, I've never had a Hullet in any FIFA, but if we did, like, let's say, get a Ruud Hullet in like some icon swap or something like that, I would definitely consider taking Conte out. However, it's going to take a lot to get that card out. The only other option would be if I got an even better rated Conte. He's had a couple special cards, a couple man of the matches and informs and stuff like that. So he's getting up from a pace standpoint, up in and around where his flashback was, because that was always his thing, is the flashback was faster, but defensively it was much worse. So if he gets one more special card, I think it'll be better pace and better defending, and that will be a deadly combo, because this one is already awesome. I would consider forking out the money for him. His informs and his man of the matches are like north of $1 million, but he's worth it. Honestly, guys, you need a pure CDM, and he's the best pure CDM in the game, I'd say. The other one that I was using was that Zakaria. We unlocked him in like an objective. I didn't really have any plans on using him, but we fit him into the squad that you guys are seeing here. He doesn't stay in for very long, but he is a useful card. Now he's with Juventus, actually, so it's helped because they released a Dybala, which is a fan favorite of mine. So he links with Dybala. However, to get those guys linked with just about anything else is very difficult because I don't use Serie A players. So those two hard link, but getting them into a hybrid with like French League and EPL, there's too many leagues going on there, so it becomes very difficult to do. So Zakaria, when he was on his own, when I just had him up top in that 4-5-1, we would change it obviously in game. He would come back and play a CDM role. He was good. He's been upgraded now. I think he's 88 pace and his defending is through the roof. One of the better CDMs in the game, but I just didn't feel like he was really that dynamic. He's good defensively. He can break up play, and he defends really well, but I don't think he offers enough in terms of his passing or his dribbling to be somebody that I feel comfortable using for very long. I know that that position is still very defensive, and I'd prefer a guy like him over somebody like Eto'o, just because I don't want guys being too offensive-minded. But they do need to have some agility, some dribbling, and some passing. They need to have some. And Zakaria just isn't really that guy. I felt like he was very lumbersome on the ball, and when you break up play or your defenders would do their job and intercept a ball, I like to pass it up to my midfielders and then transition it up to Messi or one of the wing players, and his passes were just too erratic, right? He just doesn't have that passing, and more importantly, he doesn't have the dribbling, and that was the biggest issue. That was a really nice goal, as much as I hate to admit that guy really a lot of juking and jiving in the box there and really ate me alive. But yeah, his Zakaria, his biggest thing was defensively. He would disrupt play, and then you guys know more than anybody at this stage in FIFA, everybody's using spammy tactics. They're using constant pressure, I don't know if team press is even in it, but just constant pressure and just ultra press, just high pressure tactics. And it causes the game to break, and they just buzz around like bees. And if you don't have a guy that can dribble his way out of it, they turn the ball over. And that's what Zakaria did too often. He was just causing me headaches with all the turnovers, because you'd get the ball to his feet, and then you'd have three guys buzzing around him. He'd either give the ball away, or he would just lose it. He would just cough it up from dribbling. He didn't have, with the ball at his feet, he didn't feel like he could dribble out of anything. He just felt very slow to get going. So if you've got a huge problem in your back line like that, it's something you need to take care of, or else you're gonna leak goals with that type of player. Offensively, Team of the Year Messi. I was a little concerned with him at first, because I found myself forcing the ball to him in that first game, and I was like, oh, he doesn't feel that great. But it was I was in my own head, probably just because I'd paid over $3 million for a card, and that was the most I'd paid definitely all year. Might be the most I've paid in a really long time, because even last year when we got our Team of the Year, or was it Team of the Season, I think we had both at one point, or at some point. The Maradona we tried, all of these cards were maybe $2 million at the most. So $3 million, especially at this point in FIFA, that's a lot of coins. And I was really kind of, oh, do we want to pay that much? So I expected him to just be super dynamic. The first game he started a little slow, and then he just came into a zone. He was just ripping shots, and I was just over the moon with him. There was a couple goals, I think you might even have seen him in this game, but 2 shots he ends up scoring where he does it through traffic. Shots that are normally getting blocked, which are causing me so much frustration, because my guys don't feel like they're blocking anything. Guys seem to shoot through my defenders a ton of times. I don't feel like I feel like I have to create wide open nets and almost walk the ball into the net, or create very, very high skill, shot percentage opportunities in order to score goals, while guys are just hitting really stupid things. And again, that's just me, consider the source there, saying that in my own defense. But the thing with Messi is it felt like he would just find the net. So there was one opportunity where I remember the keeper came charging out, and I basically cut off to his left, and he found this little seam where it didn't go through the keeper, but he shot it between the keeper, between the defender, and between another defender, and it found the corner. And then another one where he came flying down the wing, and he shoots cross body, and it kind of does that little, it's a little bit of a loft, but it basically hits the bottom of the corner. It kind of goes over top of any slide tackles. It seems to be a Messi trait. He kind of does this type of arc. It doesn't rise, it's not driven. He just kind of, if here's the goal, he shoots it, and it goes up and then lands down into the net. It's kind of like a little lofted shot. It's something that I don't feel like too many players, if any, have that ability. It's not a trait that you see on the card. I don't even know how to describe it, but it feels like his shooting is just different in that sense, because it does that little arced shot, and it's so phenomenal. So I just love it. We are rattling through the games here, so I apologize, guys. I haven't really done a whole lot of kind of analysis on what you guys were watching here. That guy kind of just ended up quitting out A lot of the teams that we were facing, to be totally honest with you, they weren't up to par in terms of like the teams. You guys are seeing a lot of gold cards, a lot of EPL teams. So take that for what it is. This is Division 4. This was the later stages of the last season. So I think I'm in Division 4 right now, and the players I'm playing in Division 4 are a lot better, even though they're starting to weed out a little bit because they're all moving up. So the players that are in Division 4 now are either like this is their absolute plateau, or they're reaching. They're just barely getting. They're getting further up than they probably are from a skill standpoint because they played so much over the course of that season that they're getting to a division that they probably aren't really. They're not really a Div 4 player. They just have played so much throughout the course of that individual season that they've gotten a Div 4. Because it doesn't take very long to get up there, especially now. I've got like a multiplier that gives me like 2 points per game. So I think Division 5, it's only like 4 wins and you're in Division 4, right? So I'm sure most of you guys watching this are probably even Division 1 or like the Premier Division. I can't even remember what it is. I just haven't played enough to really know what division I'm truly set in. But some of these opponents are not the best. Like you can see that guy defending. He was just all over the shop with that, really panicking. There were some guys that were really, really good, but I feel like divisions this year, it's really all over the place. There's Cancelo. That was what I was talking about. He offers a whole lot going forward. Scores a beautiful goal there, nice fake shot inside, and just low driven into the far post. But yeah, in terms of divisions, I found that like I'm winning a ton. And look, not to say that I don't have, like, I've got a really good team. I understand the team that I'm using is probably much better than most of these guys. I'm playing in probably a lower division that I should be playing in just because I haven't played enough. But it is what it is, right? Like, eventually I'll go into division, whatever, 3, 2, maybe 1, who knows. And then I'm sure I'll get smoked by a bunch of animals. So they are what they are. Hold on, it's getting really, really dark in here. We should put a light on, guys? Let's put a light on here. How does that look? Yeah, I didn't realize. Oh, makes me look paler than I am, but that's okay, right? You guys will put up with my paleness here. I promise I'm more tanned than this, but I just don't want you guys watching, sitting in the dark talking about FIFA. That's really depressing, right? So yeah, this is a really long video. I apologize, guys, for the length of this, but like I said, I wanted to get through everything. We still have a bunch of stuff. We have all our PS5 footage that that I want to go through, and then we've got like all these additional promos. So like the next 2 videos are probably going to be quite lengthy, but I'm just going to try to power through. So you guys can cut it up and watch it in different parts, or I can make these like shorter videos if you want. But I was hoping that you guys would just like really long, throw it in the background. Listen to this moron talk for ages and ages and ages, and maybe learn something new. Who knows? Yeah, what is the upcoming promotion? So FUT Birthday is coming up. That was something that I wanted to talk about. FUT Birthdays are going to be a really interesting one. I was watching an Apenthes video where he was talking about the meta of the cards. I like FUT Birthday a lot. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, a little bit of a flex, but obviously because I worked, on the original one, the birthday is kind of like an anniversary, so it means something to me because that's like the anniversary of that original release, so maybe it's a little bit more of an emotional one for me. I like the idea of some of the user or some of the fan favorite cards, like Dybala I think is going to be in that. He's one of the leaked cards. There weren't too many that I really looked at that I was just like, this is going to be a really cool team. But there was a few of them, and I was really excited. I'm excited to upgrade my Dybala, who you guys don't even see yet. We ended up picking up the man of the match one, which was a total nightmare to get because he was like 100k, and then as soon as I got it, a million of them flooded the market and he dropped to the floor. But I'm excited to get that version because I think he'll be 5-star, which is like going to be really awesome because that's the big thing with him is he's never really had the weak foot ability. So 5-star Dybala, and because Serie A is not huge in terms of popularity this year, I'm hoping he's going to be much cheaper than people think, or than I think anyway. So I'm expecting him to be like maybe a couple 100k, 200 at the most. He's one of them. I think there's some other cards that I'm hoping they'll release through SBCs. There's just a lot of really cool SBCs and content this year. Like a lot of the guys that I really like have come out. And I've got some really cool players in the squad that I'm super excited. Wow, what a penalty. Jeez. not much you can do about that. Yeah, it's some really cool cards that I love where my squad is at. I think that's one of the reasons that I continue to play this game, because look, the gameplay on the PS4 version, okay. The PS5 version, absolutely unplayable. You guys will see that. We'll get to that later on. But, you know, even the PS4 version is still quite frustrating. There's still a lot of garbage that goes on in the game, but at least it's in a playable state. But the thing that's keeping me on is just the content. So for FUT birthday, I'm really excited. I'm expecting they're going to have the token system, which will give guys an influx of like packs. You can earn yourself some really high rated players and even just hold on to that for fodder for future SBCs. But you don't even really have to spend. And it's funny because like this year, even though I did spend a little bit during Team of the Year, you know, I'm thinking next year, if I can get away with it, I just won't even put any money on the game. Right? I really won't. Like, it's, you know, I've talked to my lovely girlfriend about this. We want to look at saving money in the future and, you know, make some like big purchases, right? Like some upcoming things that we want to get into, like houses, you know, in terms of like starting a family and everything. So the last thing I want to be doing is wasting money on like the terrible, terrible, awful value that FIFA points are. If they were cheaper, I could see why people would be more inclined to wanting to spend a little bit of money on it, but they're just such bad value, and you get nothing for them. And nowadays, there's so many promotions that come out with like cool cards and cool content, and you can really, really build a team with very little, right? Like they release SBCs of Ronaldo and Messi and Neymar and stuff eventually. It might not be their best version, but if you coin manage your club properly, you can afford to get these guys, right? Like, I get it. I got Team of the Year Lewandowski in a pack. I packed some other pretty big name players, but I also have packed a bunch of guys that were untradeable that didn't come through money, right? They were just untradeable packs that you can craft in the game, right? They release all these kind of objectives that have like 11 plus players that are 85 rated or whatever, 82 rated, or, you know, 3 times 85 rated cards, and you can do them as long as you stay on top of the content. You can get some really, really good looking teams. There's a couple guys that you know, that I'm friends with that I have on PSN that I check out their teams from time to time, and I know for a fact they don't spend very much, if anything, on the game, and they have incredible looking teams. And a lot of them are untradeable. A lot of them are first owners, and they're cool teams. And it makes me think like, man, you should be really proud of that, because like you didn't spend any, you didn't put any money on it. So the more I'm getting into this, the more I'm thinking like, you know what, maybe I will consider doing that. Like, get away from perpetuating bad habits of like giving them money for a game that's so poor. Like, you know, if they lose the FIFA license, God only knows what's going to happen in this game, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I've heard that they're talking about having a subscription model. I've heard that they're talking about, or there's rumors that they've not lost the FIFA rights, but they've lost what is the term called? When you have exclusivity, the exclusive rights to the FIFA, the FIFA license. So other people will be, I don't necessarily mean Konami, but there's going to be some other competitors. If you get another big name competitor, like, I would love it if 2K got into it. If they got into the FIFA or the footballing scene, I think you'd see some really cool stuff. I love 2K's products. Their NBA game is one of the best sports games, if not the best sports game on the market. It doesn't change that much from year to year, but just the graphics, the presentation, everything that they do with that game, it's phenomenal. So if they end up getting into the footy market, I think that would be a really cool play. But like, look, that's a dreamer thought, right? I don't think that they will. I don't know that they will. They were in the hockey market at one point, and I wish they would get back into that. But, you know, just a big player like that, somebody to come in and just kind of be disruptive. Because I'm tired of where this game's gotten to. I still think it's fun. I still think it's playable, but it's gotten a little stale, right? Like, the content is fine, but just in terms of like the gameplay, there's so much garbage going on. I was having this debate with somebody the other day about like whether the game, you know, or how do I describe this? It's how the game is in terms of a competitive scene. So like the way I describe a game like Call of Duty is let's say 90% of Call of Duty is, I don't know how that was offside. I went back and watched that and literally froze it. I don't think that was offside. But yeah, Call of Duty, like if you look at the human element of it versus the coding element of that game is probably 90% skill based on the human part, and then 10%. I don't play Call of Duty, so you'll have to excuse me, but I'm basing it on the concept of like you have to control the aim, you move the player around, and I get it. You're only controlling one player, whereas in FIFA there's 11 players on the field. You can only control one of your teammates. But there's just so much user. There's a lot that impacts the game from a user standpoint in Call of Duty, whereas in FIFA it feels like 60 to 70% of the game has become computer impacted. If you know how to abuse the game, if you know how to abuse tactics, if you can change ultra press and team press and like and high pressure and constant press and formations and meta plays that just like, you know, finesse shots and cutbacks and everything, like I would go as far as to saying 50%, if not higher, is just the game mechanics. It's abusing the game mechanics, and it doesn't require actually any skill to do that. You can argue that it's skill based on the sense that you have to do it, but like I don't make that argument. I think if you just took the same teams and put them into a game, this game should be who is quicker on the sticks, for lack of a better term. Who's better on a controller, with a controller, who can read play and actually make proper plays instead of garbage like that. Like, this is a perfect game to describe. And, like, look, people are going to say, oh, you're mad that you lost or whatever. You can say that. But this game was a perfect example of it. If you go back and watch this match, I think we ended up losing 4-3. So this guy's Baggio, if that first goal, he literally goes up the middle, shoots, and it just pings back to him a bunch of times, shoots, hits the keeper, and literally lands in his feet, and the keeper stood there, and he just put it into the empty net. There was no skill involved in that, right? And I'm not taking anything away from him. It's not his fault. But this was the first game that I just felt like I couldn't do anything. I had like 2 or 3 offsides, and I couldn't even explain it. Just every once in a while, you guys will have these games. And this had nothing to do with like morale or like handicap. It was just, for whatever reason, the DDA was just so far against me and so pro for my opponent that when I was down 3-0, like literally he was just walking downfield with his Baggio. And you know, he's not a terrible player. You can tell by the way he's defending. He's a decent enough player. But I just didn't have a chance. Like my keeper wasn't stopping anything. Like you watch the plays that, you know, I'm getting from an attack standpoint. His keeper will make a miracle save. It'll go back up in the air, and it only comes down and lands as soon as the keeper's back in position, right? Like those types of things. This guy scored with his Mohamed Salah. I think it was my fault. I ended up passing. It should have gone to the defender, but instead it goes straight to his player for whatever reason. I move my Varane right in the way, and then the keeper comes out. So he's got to score through 2 guys, and he shoots it literally through both of them. I think Varane does one of those lifted leg things, and then the keeper does one of these. But they're right in his face, and he puts it off the post, right? And you, like, there's nothing I can do to stop that. Should I have made that pass? No, I shouldn't have made that pass originally to give him the ball. But, like, look, I couldn't stop it. No matter how I defended that, if he just hit shoot there, it's going to go flying in. So anyway, ranting aside, the point that I'm trying to make with that is some games, you just can't do anything, right? The only time my team felt like I was getting them out of that slumber was when I went ultra attacking, and I ended up leaking a 4th goal because he ended up hitting me on the break. Credit to him. But I had to go ultra attacking, super high press to nerf his team and increase my team offensively, right? It's just, there's so much stuff like that in FIFA that you can't go into a game and say this is 50-50. You just can't. You know, I've used that analogy before, but I've said chess is the ultimate game of skill. You have the same amount of players as your opponent. One move, one move, one move, one move. The smarter person will win. This is the opposite of chess. This is like playing a game of chess where your opponent has all queens and you have all pawns, and you can only move one forward and he can move all over the field. That's what it feels like. And then the board tips. It's literally all just momentum in one favor, and then just like, oh, I want to go ultra attacking, so the board shifts the other way. it's just so, it's crazy, but like, you know, the game is what it is, and it's frustrating. And I'm getting off on a rant here, but that's the gameplay you guys saw. There was a lot of wins in there. You know, we were coming up against some okay opponents, some not so okay opponents, but we had a really good record. I think the only loss we took was in that final game there. And then you're seeing the final stages of the Team of the Year stuff. So this was, I think they'd released another set where they gave you mega packs. So I think I bought yeah, there you go. I had 1,500 coins. So I think I put like 6K or something on in terms of like FIFA points or whatever it was. But we ended up packing that Ginola. David Ginola, fresh Ginola. I have no interest in using Ginola. I know that he's a fantastic card, 5-star, 5-star. People still use him to this day. It's just I would rather have gotten the million coins. I think he's down to like 700 because I wanted it to get this gentleman right here, Marquinhos, Team of the Year. We ended up selling a bunch of other stuff in order to afford him. Just got rid of a lot of high-rated fodder that was just sitting in my club that was tradable. Because we were so close, and I wanted to get a fresh version of this guy, Marquinhos, Team of the Year. Another spoiler, we ended up just selling him as well in order to fund the purchase of another high-rated player. But he was very, very good. Probably the best center back in the game. I don't regret selling him, but man, I would sure like to get him back because he was really, really good. I like Marquinhos a lot. He's probably the most agile, best passing center back. He just felt really good. He's one of those guys that you don't have to worry about. Like you don't worry about him. Like the ball goes anywhere near him, even if he doesn't have that kind of big, I'm just going to plow through a guy. He's so good in terms of his positioning and his defensive shape. He just doesn't lose one-on-one battles. He's just steady Freddy, right? And I really like that about him, right? Like Virgil van Dijk feels really good. I like Virgil a lot. It's just he's not quick enough. That was the only thing. Once he gets going, he's fine, but he doesn't have that acceleration at this stage of the game with all the Mbappes and Messis and Neymars and Ronaldos and all that stuff to get going. So that was my only concern with him. He's a little bit of a truck, but he's a big beast in the CDM or in the center back position. But just a very different player, right? Like he's going to come and just like bowl through you. Whereas Marquinhos is just always in the right place at the right time, and he's super quick, 90 acceleration, 90 sprint speed, so he had that perfect balance of pace. It wasn't like really slow acceleration, really high sprint speed. He was a 90-90, so I really like that a lot. And yeah, we're going to end up probably utilizing him in the future if we can get our hands on him again. I'm thinking that even if they release like an inform version of him, like a 91 or 92, I might consider getting that just because he was so good and he links with so many guys in the squad. We ended up doing this, the De Gea. He was super cheap, guys. If you didn't do him, which you probably did, you missed the boat too, even if you're just going to use him for fodder. I wanted to try him just because he's got the save with foot trait, and I think that's a really cool trait to have. Mixed reviews on him so far. We'll come back to him later. I feel like he short arms a lot. He's not a great card. He's okay. Some people praise him a lot, but I don't think he's necessarily that amazing. He is what he is. I would actually choose Mendy if you were 50-50, and like I said, I might consider going back to Mendy. It just depends on whether I can fit him in, but if you have to use David De Gea, at least he's finally a usable card. We got the Angel Correa, and then we did this. We did something here where we had the final 3 icon swaps. I just decided to dump them into the 83 plus by 25, and we end up packing Antonio Rudiger. So he will be a viable option at center back. So now we've got him, Varane, and Marquinhos, and we can kind of play them and figure out what we want to do. But that is going to be the end of the episode. Very long one here today, guys. I appreciate you sticking with me to the very end. Until next time, guys, take care. Peace. Oh, yeah, we'll be on PS5.